Hi, this is Mr. Lundy here, and this is a presentation on the LMS I've selected for my classroom. I am a chemistry teacher, and so the LMS I've selected is Google Classroom. Originally, I had selected Canvas, but after talking to a lot of the teachers in the science department at my school, I have discovered that a lot of them use Google Classroom. So in order to just keep things consistent for my students so that they see the same LMS all the way through, I have elected to choose Google Classroom as well. The interface isn't as great, I think, but it still gets the job done. So here's my unit here. My unit is over Chemish, which really briefly, in chemistry, you've probably seen like a string of letters and numbers and that stands for a compound, or maybe you see a word like sodium chloride and that itself there's a string of letters and numbers that you would write to represent sodium chloride. And so in this unit, it's teaching students how to read that language of chemistry so that later on they can go down and start writing chemical equations and balance equations and all that kind of stuff. So this is a really introductory unit, but it's really important for students to know all this stuff in order to move on in chemistry. In Google Classroom, when you post things, the things that you post first show up on the bottom. So actually I'm going to scroll to the bottom here. This will be the beginning of the unit where students will first go once they start this unit. But I'm just going to read this blurb here for you real quick. Welcome to Chemish. In this unit you will be learning how to speak the language of chemistry. We will learn how to read and write chemical equations as well as how to name a compound based on elements it consists of. Below are guided notes that you will be completing while watching videos. Embedded in these notes are practice questions that will not be graded. After you complete these practice questions, you will take a checkpoint quiz to assess your knowledge. To help guide you in your learning, I will also attach a scaffold outline of what assignments you should be completing and the date they need to be completed by. Alright, and so you'll notice actually throughout this, I've included a Star Wars theme to this just because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm hoping by adding some fun things like that, it pulls in some students that normally wouldn't be engaged in chemistry. Okay, so let's start here with the notes that the students will be doing. Also, I chose to embed documents straight in here instead of Google Docs just because I feel like if internet's kind of acting sketchy or if something's not shared properly, I want to make sure that students are going to be able to get it. So as long as they can download this doc, then they can just save it to their computer, and then we won't have to mess with students accessing docs anymore. So this is the packet that students will receive up front. It is kind of long, but it is the packet for the entire unit. So this includes all of their notes and all of the practice that they will be doing. So for instance, level 1 is Padawan Anakin. They're learning how to name binary ionic compounds. Okay, so they'll take notes in this area here, and then once they slide down to here where it says practice, like here's 2 elements, they'll have to write the compound that this would form, and then they will write the name of that compound. So they're going down, practice, 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 all the way down to here. And again, they can complete as much or as little of this as they would like. And I will show you later on, I do have the answer key posted in here for the students. So then they'll go on to level 2. It's a different type of naming. Level 3 is a different type of naming. Level 4 is a different type of naming, all the way down to the last level. And this last level just combines everything together. So they're seeing all 5 types of naming in one thing, so they'll have to distinguish the type of compound, distinguish what type of name it's going to have, and go through and do all that practice. Again, they can do as little or as much practice as they want, as long as they feel comfortable for the assessment. Also on here, this will just be like a poster that's hung in the classroom, and I have like little cups under each hour here for the students, and they'll make little lightsabers with their names on it. So as they complete each section, they'll move up the chart here, and then that way they can kind of see where they're at and compare themselves to like their friends and make sure that they're on target with where they're supposed to be. I can also come over to this poster and look and say, oh, you know, little Johnny's still on episode 4 Luke, well, everyone else is up here with Mace Windu, and then I know that I need to go talk to Johnny and see what his deal is and make sure that he's on task. So I included this poster here. In reality, it won't be in my LMS, but it'll just be on a wall in my classroom. And then also, this is just a general scaffold. I didn't actually edit it for the specific unit yet. But basically what happens is for each of the different levels, I will put the checkpoints that the students are supposed to be completing, maybe some demos that they'll be doing or labs, and that way the students know based on the date that I put here, they'll know when they should have these different checkpoints completed by, and it's just to help guide them in their learning, because this will be self-paced, but I want students to know what their deadlines should be. Also, I'll show you the checkpoints here in a little bit, but as I grade their stuff, it'll all go on the sheet, so at the end I can collect this and I can put all their grades in. Also, as they complete each step, I can see their comments, see what they're confused on. So I'm constantly assessing them, seeing where their knowledge is at, and this sheet is another thing with the poster to kind of help me see what students are struggling with and what they need help on. Alright, so like I said, the students will be watching these videos as they move through, and the videos correspond directly with the notes that I've created. So if they click on this link here, just going to make sure that opens in a new tab, it'll pull up my YouTube channel, and a podcast will start playing with all of the
You are listening to podcast number 1 on naming.
All the notes here. They'll follow along, they'll fill in the notes. Once they feel comfortable with that, they will go and they will do their practice, and then above that is the checkpoints. Alright, so I actually will probably not put these online, the actual checkpoint. I will just have a assignment saying that they will do the checkpoint, just because these checkpoints are done individually. I don't want them passing them around to their friends, but they will come up to my desk and they'll get a checkpoint that looks like this, and they'll complete all the stuff on the checkpoint, and then they'll give it to me, and I will grade it immediately in front of them, so they get immediate feedback. So this is the grade that they're getting in the class. Like I said, all the practice is on their own. It's not for a grade. This is the actual stuff for a grade. So they'll complete a checkpoint for each one of the levels, okay, and I'll grade them immediately. They'll get immediate feedback. If they don't like their score, I have 3 different checkpoints for or I have 3 versions of each checkpoint, so they can retake the checkpoint a couple times. Maybe they'll decide, I want to go back and do more practice, and now I'm ready and I'm going to come back and take the checkpoint. So they'll do that, and then I'll upgrade or update their score on that sheet that I showed you earlier. So if you scroll through here, here's binary naming. We scroll up, now we're naming with transition metals. Here's the checkpoint for that. Naming with polyatomics, here's the checkpoint for that. Naming with covalents, here's the checkpoint for that. Naming with acids, here's the checkpoint for naming with acids. And then we have this checkpoint. This will be worth more than the rest of them. It's more like a quiz instead of a checkpoint. So these will all be homework grades. This will be a quiz grade. And this has all different types of naming on it. So it's got binary compounds, acids, bases, all that kind of stuff. It's all on here. So that will be the hardest checkpoint. Alright, and then up here, like I said, here's the answer key for all of those. So students do their practice on their notes. They can scroll through here, and I've completed all of the practice, so they can look and just make sure that they're right, so they don't come into a checkpoint quiz without having the right answers on their quote-unquote homework. Up here, I have 2 labs that the students will complete during this unit. If you click here on one of them, it's just a standard lab worksheet. The students will read through this. They're required to read the labs before they come into class to do the labs. And then the students will complete the lab in class. The students will answer the questions on the lab, turn that in. And these labs will be put in on this scaffold, so the students will know, oh, I need to complete these videos before I do the lab in order to know the content that is on the lab. Okay, so there's 2 different labs here. There's an acid-base lab and a chemical bonds lab. Essentially, that's it. They have the checkpoints, which are basically a homework grade. They've got a quiz, kind of a quest type grade. It's between a quiz and a test here with the final naming quiz, and then 2 different labs. And that is my unit on naming. Thank you.